All right, cool. That'll work. No, still not good at timing, but all right. Well, welcome back to It's All Good podcast. My name is Max, and we have a guest on this episode today. This is episode number 24, and if you didn't know already, I've had a couple guests from Toledo Creatives group. Today we have another guest on the podcast. I'll let him introduce himself. He's a photographer and videographer. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Daniel. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it. I'm Daniel Shadler. I'm from the Midwest. I'm in Toledo, Ohio. Like I said, I do photo and film. A lot of my work right now is in weddings. I do a lot of commercial stuff on the side. I work with some other companies for doing ribbon cutting ceremonies, a lot of random events. So I kind of just take a lot of whatever comes in my way, but a lot of it right now is weddings.
Sick. Yeah, and I think that's kind of like why we kind of clicked in the first place. I met you through the Toledo Creatives group, and when I heard about that, I thought that was really cool. And I think that's kind of what this whole podcast is about. I like to have people on that do a very similar thing as myself, and just to like to hear about other people's ways they kind of came about what they're doing and their start and what got them going. Because oftentimes I see a lot of threads of people being like, I don't know, is this my thing? I'm not sure. So I think it's nice that I can have this platform where you can kind of talk about how you came up with it and where you're at with it and everything. So it's really, really cool to hear that. So I'm going to be asking you a bunch of questions about that. So yeah, when did you first get started with all this?
I think I started about 5 years ago now. I was in a weird space in my life, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was in school, and I didn't kind of enjoy what I was doing at school, and I just needed a hobby to get me through. I needed a good hobby, and I seen a lot of people in the area that were doing cool stuff, and then we were all at that time. Brandon Wolfel, super huge at the time, and he was a big inspiration.
I know who that is.
Everyone knows who he is, good or bad. They know who he is. But I mean, he has a lot of talent for sure, and he definitely is a very trendy. But he does obviously have a lot of talent. But a lot inspired was him. He inspired me, and then there's a few people in the area as well that were really inspiring. I was I just want to do this. I picked it up. I bought a cheap Nikon D3400 starter kit, and then I kind of just fell in love with doing photo. And then I think 3 years later, I started doing video.
That's sick. So was that Nikon able to do video, or was that strictly photo at first?
I don't know if I ever really shot video on the Nikon, honestly. Because I had it for a few years, and I eventually upgraded. I shoot Sony now. I have an A7R2 and A7 III at the moment. Planning on upgrading from the A7R2. But I had the A7 II for a while, and that's kind of when I started doing video. And I started I literally started right before the pandemic. I literally running into a couple local restaurants. I'm like, hey, can I just shoot a local, just a small little film for you for free? So I did that, and that was my practice right before the pandemic hit. So.
Oh wow, oh my goodness. Wait, so I'm gonna backtrack a little bit because this is a very hot question that I get this question about 10 times a day. Yeah. How much was that first camera that you bought?
Oh God. Well, I bought
was it under 500?
I want to say it was probably 600, 650, but it had a starter kit with it, and it was the default lens, and it's just it's all stuff that's honestly really useless. So if anyone is looking into buying a starter kit, I just don't recommend it. Because you will eventually just replace all that gear. You're better off spending the extra $100 and just buying one nice tripod than a memory card you're never going to use, some filters you're never going to use, and everything else.
Right. So that camera you got was good for you to get started, though, right? Like you said, you went out and shot stuff for people for free, and it kind of was your little entry into stuff.
Yeah, I did. I mean, good photos is good photos, Video, I feel is a lot harder when it comes to camera hardware, but I think photo, lighting, it can help out so much. And, it would have helped since I was, shooting a lot at night, too, because I was doing the Brandon Wolfel style, that if I would have had, a mirrorless camera at the time, but it did the job, and I got some good photos, honestly. I kind of killed it. I was a little trendier at the time, for sure. But, yeah, it did the job for photo. Video, I can't really speak much on video. I wouldn't recommend it because I don't think you could even shoot over 1080p 60, maybe, if you're looking at that.
Pretty low quality. But I guess when it comes to it, you can post that kind of low quality on Instagram and no one's really going to notice it, right? Because you're just seeing it on a small screen. I mean, you
true.
Notice it, right? But
yeah, but they also have cameras that are basically for like for vloggers and stuff. I don't think people really vlog anymore. I feel like that fell out as soon as the pandemic hit. But but I feel like they made cameras for vlogging that like are fairly cheap. That are around like that $500 mark. That come, I think, with a kit lens. I believe that was like decent.
Yeah.
That you can do all that with. That would give you much better quality at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think anyone knows exactly what they're doing when they start out.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of going off that, and we'll get it. We're gonna kind of cover, by the way, we're gonna get some technical stuff here, and then I'm gonna talk about kind of how you got into working more gigs and dive into that a little bit. So when did you realize you needed to upgrade? I mean, you kind of just said it, but like, what was the point where you're like, oh shoot, I need this microphone. Oh shoot, like I need this light, like this extra thing. When was that? Because I get that question all the time. People are like, well, why do you need that light, or what's that for?
So I upgraded. I wasn't doing video when I upgraded. I was only doing photos still. I picked up the A7R2. A buddy of I did a lot of stuff at low light, and I just knew my camera would barely handle it, and I was really struggling. And then a buddy of mine that I hadn't even met yet was like, "Hey man, you can borrow my camera if you want." It was the nicest gesture I think anyone's ever given me. He's like, "Hey man, you can borrow my A7R2 if you just want to use it for like this wedding you're gonna shoot." And I'm like, "I don't even know you." So it was just such a wild thing that happened. I couldn't believe it. So I kind of tested that camera out, and we took a few photos together. We hung out, and then after that, I didn't end up taking up on it because I didn't want to the liability of whatever. What if I mess something up? But I ended up after we ended up hanging out, and he let me use his camera. We shot each other. We did some exploring stuff. We ended up being really good friends after that.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And that made you realize that you needed to upgrade to a different camera?
It was part of it. It just it's a lot faster. It's a lot smoother. You have a lot more ability. It's more options. You can make, if you're I feel like if you're a hobbyist, you can make a starter camera work for sure. But basically higher end cameras and higher end gear just give you more options. It's kind of how I like to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's your opinion on YouTube videos? Because oftentimes when I get this question, people are like, oh, well, I saw this YouTube video and I'm not sure. Maybe I should upgrade to this. And it sounds weird that I'm saying that, but I could probably open up my phone right now and find that question. People ask that all the time. What's your say on watching YouTube videos to upgrade versus firsthand experience of being all right, now I'm holding this camera. This is what I need. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's such a weird subject. Because obviously, I like to view it as a toolkit, and then you can say you watch these YouTubers and they'll say oh, you don't need a nice camera while they're shooting their YouTube videos on a Red,
right.
But they're not wrong. But that Red gives them the availability to ease of use in certain things and high quality, and it gives them a lot more options because they know what they're doing for sure.
Right.
I think as a beginner, it's good to find out who's anything a reputable source. So know someone you're doing for it. It's hard when you're starting out because you don't really know exactly what you're doing. You might say you want to do portraits, but then a year down the road you might not want to do portraits anymore.
Right.
So all gear has a purpose. I've spent $500 on gear I've used for one specific niche of video or stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Now that's kind of another reason why I'm stoked to have you on here too, because a lot of people that I've had on have been pretty focused on to one thing, have been video's my thing or photos my thing. And I do think it's really cool that you do both, photo and video. And I'm wondering, so how do you, I'm on top of asking for other people that need to know this, I'm wondering myself, how do you balance both? Because when I tried to do that at one point, oh my God, it was out of control. And I was there hit a point, not that I ever focused in on photo, but it was if someone's oh, do you do photos? It's sure, why not? But now, I feel if someone does that, I only do photos for there's 2 people I'll shoot for. Yeah. I just gave it up entirely, unless I'm doing it for myself. So how do you manage to balance both, and how has that kind of changed what you do in a sense? Are you trying to balance both at once, or do you have more photo clients, more video clients? Kind of run me down on that.
So I would say I have more video clients for sure. A lot of the weddings I do are mostly video too. I think there's a lot less people doing video, and I as someone who does both, I just think video takes a lot more time, and it takes a lot more. It takes a lot more gear. I know, man. I don't know if I want to say that because I know a lot of people who shoot very minimal and do an amazing job. Yeah. But I personally feel it takes a lot of work, and I think photo for me gives me the ability to process work faster. I might just be faster because I did photo for like 3 years more, so maybe I'm just quicker with it. But I think one thing is to never offer to do both by yourself because it's nearly impossible. Yeah, you can offer both, but have someone else hired on to do one or the other. I would never. I think that's like a big thing when I like first started. People were like, how are you offering photo and video? And no one ever really told me. It's like you don't do it by yourself. It's you can do one camera and a second camera, or you can do it, but it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be enjoyable, and it's not going to be like the product's not going to be great either. It's going to miss one moment or another in one way. So I always recommend like hiring someone else to do it, and then you just learn your stuff in post. I think kind of learning what you do in post and like what you want to do with it is kind of important. I like to do photo more personally. I am trying to brand a little more this year into getting more into mostly photo. But a lot of my work is video because there's just a higher need for it.
I'd agree with that. And I think photo, it's very easy for people to take like a nice photo, especially on like their iPhone now with like the features and stuff like that. Not to say that photo is useless at all, because it's very useful, especially when it comes to like weddings and stuff like that. But I do think that, like you said, I think there's definitely a greater demand for video from what I've personally seen. It seems like from what you're saying too. Now,
I want to clarify. I think the post process for photo is a lot easier than video, not the actual shooting.
Right.
I should clarify that before people are like mad. I think the post is just easier for photo. For me, I can watch TV while I edit photos, but when you do video, you're like concentrating, you're doing audio, you're playing the same 3-second clip over and over. So I think that's kind of the difference, because like, you know, I see a lot of photos, like when I do weddings, especially for like video and photo, like you usually, a lot of the times you tend to see, I'm very outgoing, and when I see people working, a lot of times I work with other videographers, something like I just kind of like to stay in the background. That's not me as a videographer. Like I guess I'm more of like a photo personality when it comes to that, because I'm always also involved in there and doing all this stuff with it. So it definitely takes, when you say like you do your phone, like people can, like it's possible. And I think honestly, if people want to start doing photography, they should just use their phones as like rather than like a really, really cheap camera. I don't think it's a bad idea, honestly. Especially iPhones have so many tools for it. I don't even have an iPhone, and I'm like, man, look at all these tools you have.
I know a few phone photographers, so it's definitely a doable thing.
Yeah.
Again, not to diminish away from anything that photographers do, because, oh my God, I've seen some of the craziest photos ever. But going off of that, I guess, at the beginning you said you started off doing some stuff for businesses, and then it kind of got you going. What is your main focus now? What do you like focus on shooting the most, and what are like the different things that you shoot, and how did you get into them? I know it's kind of a broad question with a lot of answers, but
at the moment I don't really shoot much just because it's winter.
Sure,
I tend to take these couple months to really like focus on business aspects, because that's honestly so important as well.
Sure.
So I tend to take January and February and just focus on either learning business, applying business, like anything. That's kind of what I'm doing at the moment.
Sure. But in the busy season, what's your like wake up and go shoot thing?
Oh gosh, wake up and go shoot. I always feel bad because I don't really have like a wake up and go shoot thing anymore. I do feel like it's kind of become like more of a job.
Yeah, well, okay. I'm saying it in a sense of like, if you just woke up and had like a random shoot, and what is are you gonna wake up and probably have like a wedding to do, or are you gonna have like a portrait session, or are you gonna have like what are you shooting more?
At the moment, it's definitely weddings for sure. I kind of haven't really. I think with COVID, obviously, it's hard to make it like shoot with models, and I used to like shoot just for fun. I like to do more stuff with like there's like portraits with models and stuff. Do some more creative stuff. I just really haven't had the resources to do so in a while. A lot of people I used to work with have moved, which is always really sad. You find someone you really click with. It's like, oh yeah, we can put out this amazing content. It's gonna be so cool, these photos, and you'd be like, you don't have to like communicate. You're just on the same vibe the entire time. And then a month later, like, well, I'm moving. I'm like, well, that was cool, I guess.
That doesn't work for me.
But I like doing photo like on the go. I don't really do much. I don't do much video like on the go for like fun as much. I like doing photo for that kind of stuff. Like when I took like my last vacation, I did all photo. I didn't even bother. I think I took video with my drone at one point, but like I didn't really bother with photo like video. But mostly, like I said, it's a lot of weddings. And a lot of handful of random corporate stuff that comes my way. I do a lot for a certain company. They're like, it's like a senior medical care company, and they hire me for a handful of stuff, and I do these like this short form interviews, ribbon cutting ceremonies, stuff like that, because they're opening so many locations. So I do stuff like that, events. It's more stuff like that. I feel, and a lot of it's photo,
Sure.
but like the video where a lot of my business, my income comes from is video from weddings, though.
Yeah, yeah, and those are usually the higher budget items, I guess.
I'm leaning into starting a at the moment. Me and a buddy are personally working on like a brand. We're working on a video, like a high end production company as well, and that's kind of one of the things I'm also focused on right now is getting that like off the ground at the moment.
For sure, and I think that's huge. Especially like being having gone to a couple of the Toledo Creatives meetings. I think that's one thing that I've really taken out of it is learning to like collaborate with people. Because honestly, I've been like really bad about that, and then until I started going to those, I was like, wait a minute, like something about going to those made me realize that like there's so much more power when you like collaborate with people.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a really cool thing. But aside from that, what I was going to ask you is going off the wedding thing. Okay, how did you first get into shooting weddings, and what have you like learned from shooting weddings? Because for me at least, like I know that's a pretty broad question.
It's broad. It's just a lot.
it is a lot, but I think it's an important one because I was in a Facebook thread yesterday that I was reading, and some person made a huge drawn out post saying like, and I could relate to it. They were saying like, when I'm shooting weddings, how do you keep up with like shooting, like going to the ceremony, to shooting the cocktail hour, to shooting the portrait session, to shooting this? And like when I read that, I was like, dang, I've been shooting weddings for like what 4 or 5 years now, and I feel like I can relate to that. I'm like, geez, I feel like I'm just running and running and running, and it doesn't stop. So I guess that's maybe a better way to angle the question is like, how do you manage shooting weddings in general, and what kind of, before you answer that, what kind of got you into shooting weddings? Because obviously you didn't just like boom there.
Yeah, it's I feel like weddings are kind of, it's like there's like a hard threshold to get into it, really.
For sure.
Because you either have to shoot for literally nothing to like get started, or like
Yeah.
I don't know if I started the way most people start. I had a few friends in the area. Ellen DeSorbo, Goldenwood Films. When I first started, I was interested in it. Mostly, the beginning was like, I need to make more money, and I want to do this for a living. Like, how do I do this? And obviously, weddings are like good money. And I'm really good with people. I work really well with people. I'm very.
I would agree with that.
Thanks. But it seemed like a good fit, so I tried doing photo for like a family friend. I didn't really have any people I knew who weren't already married at this point, so like there wasn't really much options for me to just like shoot my friends' weddings.
Ooh,
so
that's rough.
Yeah, so I feel like I had a hard barrier to entry when it came to this. But I second shot for probably like almost like close to like 9 months to a year with the handful. I shot Ellen DeSorbo from Goldenwood Films has helped me out a lot. She gave me a lot of getting my feet off the ground information. Like, this is how you do this, like the basics of video. Because I was like, just learning video still at the time. So it's pretty new to a lot of it. So she was so helpful. And then let
me pause you. So you second shot for free or second shot for low, or
I got paid because like I've been doing it for a while, and I think even like no matter what, you should be paid. Even if it's like, you know what I mean.
Well, because I mean, the reason I ask it is because I do get people that are like, oh, hey, I'll come, like, and I don't know why I say no. I should be saying yes to this, but like I'll get people that are like, oh, can I come shoot, like, second shoot a wedding for free with you or something? Yeah. Like, I don't know why I should say yes to that, but
I mean, I always throw something at least. I just don't like, I value my time so much that I don't really do much for free anymore. There's a few friends where we help out each other, and it's not a big deal. But like, my time is so valuable that I really try not to do that. And I wouldn't ask, even if they're offering, unless they have like no experience. But that's what I'm talking about.
I
feel like I wouldn't bring someone with no experience to a wedding, though. They could be like a grip, and they can help carry bags. They can have them monitor cameras and stuff like that, and they could teach them as I'm going. But it could be on a wedding, having someone who's just kind of there. Depending on the wedding, it's a lot, and it's an extra body, because if you have 2 photographers, 2 videographers, it's already 4 people hanging around a bride and groom at all times.
Yeah, that's a lot of bodies.
it's a lot, and it's a lot for them in a day, so it's like, it's kind of hard to do that. So I don't hire anyone specifically that that doesn't basically already shoot weddings. It's like a personal rule for me. I like to be able to have people I can just send away and be like, just go do that.
Yeah.
Like, I trust them. Like, yeah, the groom's going to do something, do that. But I second shot and they paid me. It was like a lower rate for sure because I was a beginner and I'm like there's no but I won't complain. Obviously, it was great.
Right.
I was stoked.
Right.
I was stoked to get paid too, honestly, and it was such a good learning experience. And then so she was a good resource. And then other Ellen, who you've had on your podcast, also has helped me out like a ton. She's my favorite source of peer review. She will be critical. She's very critical, and I love it because that's what people are always so afraid to like. I feel like talk about stuff. I'm like, just tell me what's bad about her or what you don't like.
Yeah,
it could be an opinion too, and I don't have to like take it, but like it's like good to hear, and she obviously knows what she's doing. So they both of them probably help me the most with weddings. It's both Ellens.
You got the Ellen duo helping you out.
I still will like text other Ellen too, like Ellen Zubek a lot, just to like random questions here or there. Just any thought that enters mine sometimes. Like, hey Ellen, how do you think about this? Like, she's
really got the stuff down.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of peer review. Like, I love peer review, and I think people need to be when people ask for like CC, people should be more honest about it.
Yeah, peer review is huge, and I think that's really interesting that you bring that up because I don't think that this is the first time I've heard of someone starting up with weddings, going off second shooting, and just kind of going off peer review. Usually it's the typical like shot a wedding for free story or shot it for a friend for this price.
My husband, my wife did it, and I joined on. We started a team. That's the big one.
Yeah, it is.
Because the money is so good, they're just like, why would I not like join in on this?
Right.
I don't blame them.
That's cool that you got into weddings doing that. So when did you realize, what was like the turning point of like, all right, I second shot now, all right, this is the time I can do it on my own? Like, when did that hit?
I think it was just kind of when I started getting inquiries. Like, I started advertising. I put out a couple ads trying to like get some business in. And
paid ads or just like calling friends?
Paid ads. I did a few on Facebook, and I think I got one wedding. But I mean, I spent like maybe $150, so one wedding for $150 is like a good deal, I feel.
Yeah.
But I had a handful of inquiries. Basically, I felt I was finally at a point where I could like work a wedding by myself. I still hired a second shooter, and I knew was experienced. So like if I had a question about anything, even video related, I paid a higher price to have someone who's experienced with me. That way, if something happened, I'd be good. Like I have basically a backup. And like someone who was more knowledgeable. So I made sure I tried getting people on board who were really talented. And I just kind of started getting inquiries, and I think having a background in photo for a few years already like really helped. It was just more like learning the terminology of frame rates, stuff like that, and like when to use what. And because it's a whole different field, but like if you do photo, you can get the composition and you can learn all this stuff. There's one person I do hire for weddings every once in a while, and he does photo. Mostly photo. He rarely does video, but I'll hire him because he's done photos for so years. He catches everything. Yeah. And like I can like not worry about him being there, and I'm like, hey, I need these shots. And like beforehand, and he'll get everything throughout the day. And that's honestly so much more important than getting the most creative wedding film possible is documenting everything. So like having that background in photo already helped me out a lot, I think, too. And that's what I've been told when I've done like given my peer reviews out. I'm like, hey, can you look this over? And it's like I think just having that photo background has already really helped you like kind of get into this faster than most people would just starting in video.
Sure. So that made you feel more comfortable and ready to like dive in on your own sort of and take things in your own hands.
I was definitely really nervous my first handful of weddings too, though. Like even just learning the schedule for a wedding day. I'm like, when goes what? And I've been to like maybe 4 weddings in my life beforehand. So I was like, when is what? How is the day organized? And
Same. That's what I did.
It was stressful.
I want to. This is why I'm making this podcast. This is what I want to hear. Like. What was that like? The first wedding? I want to hear this. All right, like, in kind of like you don't need to like go detail by detail because we could probably talk about that for like 4 hours right here.
Oh, absolutely.
But like I'm saying, like on a kind of like to dive into it a little bit. What was that like on your like first one? You're like, oh my god, wait, when is this gonna happen? Oh my god, wait, this is. Whoa, I need to shoot this. Hang on, but this is happening. Like, what was that like for you?
So I stay very organized when I do stuff like this. I have like a full sheet of everything. I have the schedule through the day. Then I have like important shots, how I shoot things. I don't think I always used to do it like that. I'm a lot more organized now, but like I always had the full schedule and I made sure I was in complete contact. Like I'm not, like I said, I'm not like a background videographer. It's not my style. Some people are into it and they're amazing at it. I'm just not. I'm just very interactive. And I'm very talkative. And so like I'm always like asking what's going on. So I'm always communicating with the photographer and trying to figure out what's going on.
Same.
So I try to make I try to make it so there's no point in the day where I could possibly be not in the loop.
Right.
Because I think starting out, especially in weddings, that schedule can be kind of like, oh wow, am I gonna have enough time to do this, or does this start when?
Right.
Or what comes when? So, and especially if like sometimes it depends on, like I said, it depends on the clients for everything. Sometimes your photographer will make the schedule, and that's always nice. My first wedding for photo was the most. I don't even reference it because I really just was there with my camera, just standing around, just. It was the only family friend like contact I had doing a wedding, and I got paid. I did get paid fairly cheap for that, and that was my very first photo wedding. But I wouldn't really count that as the beginning of my adventure. I was really, like I said, I was just there like taking photos, and I just documented the day. But I wouldn't count it as like a full day. I don't think I had like a checklist of shots or anything. I was like, I'm here and I'm taking photos. Pretty cool.
That's all the first wedding video I did too.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm here and there's stuff going on and I'm gonna get a couple shots. And like, I don't even think I filmed the ceremony all the way through, to be honest.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Like, I think I might have, but I don't remember. It was a train wreck. But I also say that to say that, like, what have you learned now to, like, what have you like taken from doing your first wedding to now? Like, what has been like the biggest thing that's like, okay, this is now my thing. This is what's helped me out.
Learning the business side of things, I would say actually is really good. Mm-hmm. Obviously it helps you sustain your business and helps you enjoy what you do. But also I think it's really important to highlight expectations for both sides when you're meeting with clients.
For sure.
So I always try to word it almost exactly like that. I'm like, hey, just so we both have expectations, what are you looking for from me on the day? And then what I offer as well. And like, first, make it a good fit. I don't think I've ever had a wedding where I'm not a good fit, honestly, because I just feel like I usually get along with most people. But if it's something that they're asking a lot and like, hey, the expectations you have for me are too much, I don't think I'm gonna be able to deliver this for what like you're looking at, or you know what I mean, or like I feel like you want this style and I just don't do this style, so I can't deliver that to you.
I've had to decline a few weddings. I've had to decline a few like that already. It's like,
yeah,
you gotta match
There's nothing
expectations.
wrong with it.
Yeah.
But I think that's really important because that like it helps you have the clients that you want and helps you also enjoy what you're doing because you don't want to work with people you don't want to work with, you know?
Right.
So I think that helps, like, and it gets you a good audience. I think that's really important, is learning the business side along with, because I mean, I don't know. Anyone can do photo and video at this point. It's such an accessible field. But when you're doing weddings specifically, you're really providing an experience to people, and you need to it's good to set that out from the beginning. Like, hey, this is what I can deliver. This is what I offer. I hope this is what you're interested in. If this is what you're interested in, let's move on to the next steps, and then you can go on with that. Because anyone, and I know it sounds bad, but anyone can pick up a camera and do photo. Not be good, but I mean they can document the day for sure. And some people do have a natural knack for it. But I think that's my spicy take, is that anyone can pick up a camera and document a day, but if you're gonna really provide an experience to a couple, you really need to know how to handle the business side, the meetings, and how to be personable with people. There's a lot into it, and you have to be able to make sure when you're saying stuff like I do this, you have to make sure you can follow through on that, because it's also good to have everything in writing. If you can't follow through on that, that's such a bad look. It's like, oh yeah, I said I was gonna do it, and there are stuff that happens. It is a wedding day, something goes wrong every single wedding, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to do as best as you can and have the gear you can and do whatever, like I said, say what you have, this is what I can do. It's just such a good idea to have that business mindset when you're first talking to people, so that way no one's disappointed in the end.
Right. No, I'd agree. I think that's a really good thing for people to take away from this too, is especially being a very personable human being to people there is clutch, because oh my God, just when you have zero personality and you struggle to talk to people, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, because some people are just naturally like that, but at the end of the day, those are the kind of people that when you're gonna walk away from a wedding, sometimes maybe even if you don't have the best work in the world, sometimes that's what people are gonna remember you for. Wow, this was a great person to be around. He was communicating effectively with me. He got my work in on time. He was great with my family, blah blah. They're gonna remember that for sure.
Right.
And so I think that's a huge thing for sure, and that's kind of something I've also taken away from shooting weddings as well. And like you said, at the end of the day, it's like they're gonna see the final product too, and they're gonna remember you for the overall quality of the work and go, oh my god, this is beautiful. And they're gonna recommend you too at the end of the day.
No, absolutely.
And go ahead.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. So I think has that going off of doing those, and we'll dive into another topic here in a sec, but has that worked out for you? Like that's how you get more weddings? People just been recommending you since you've done more and more, or would you say more of your work comes from ads?
I only use ads that one time. I would say I really believe in the power of networking. I get a lot of business, honestly, from other photographers and videographers who are just busy on those days. Or, like, you know, some they feel like they can't meet that I can meet. I honestly feel like I get a lot of business that way as well. I feel like that's how I feel a lot. And, like, I think networking within your community is such a good thing to do. Because, like you said, you never know. Some people are really busy and they have to turn down work all the time. And then it's like, where does that work go?
Right. Well, that is a perfect segue into two questions I have for you. So, the first question I have is kind of going off the whole like community thing. Well, actually, here, let me backtrack a little bit. First off, is this your full-time job, or do you work another job right now?
Full time. I have a small job right now just because it's winter, and I have a few more things I want to buy. They're high-end items, so I am just working a second job
for photo?
To some extra cash. Life.
Oh, life. Okay.
Business life stuff, just like random bullshit.
Okay. So that's good to know this full time. So going off of that, you said like community's huge for you. I want to kind of have your take on like the whole Toledo Creatives thing and how you got involved with that, and it kind of explain for those that are listening that don't know what this is or haven't listened to the other episodes where people talked about it. How did you get involved with it, and kind of give us your take on it?
I don't remember how I specifically heard of the first few event because we didn't have a community before that. I think someone just sent me a message somewhere, or I don't really remember specifically where it came from. But I remember I went to the very first meeting, and I met a lot of people there. That's where I first met like a handful of people that I'm still like really close with now. And it was in a buddy's, like they had a studio at the time. And we were just sitting there, and we kind of talked about what we wanted from the community, and kind of like how we wanted like I think it originally started as like a space where we could all work together, and now it's become more of a community mindset, I would say, and where we try to like, you know, everyone has it's a resource for everyone to use, and it's a community that helps out.
Right.
I showed up to the first few. It wasn't even Toledo Creatives at the time. I think it was Lighthouse Collective at a different name, and I was there for the first couple meetings of that. We had a few meetups, and I just kind of like I said, at the time I was doing a lot of this by myself, and I would like talk to a few people on Instagram. But this really helped me like quickly get in contact with people I like knew that were in the field, and like meet a lot of people, and like find out like there's so many talented people here. It's so crazy how many,
for sure.
For like I know people like they talk. We get a lot of shit living in Toledo. But like Toledo has so many creative people. It is ridiculous. It is so wild to see how many people here who are just so talented.
Yeah, and especially when you meet up with everybody in person, you realize that you're like, wow, this is like a big group of people. And on top of that, too, you realize how many people, for me, another thing I've taken away from it is realizing like how many people are into different things, like in making graphics or into like, I don't know, screenwriting or whatever their other thing is. But it's cool to like, for me, when I'm like working on another gig and someone's like, oh, hey, do you know like this person, like I can like I have people like that in Chicago that I can like recommend through that. But what is that? Have you been in that situation before where you're like, oh my god, I knew this person from the creatives, like let me send him over to you?
Yeah, I mean I do this stuff all the time. Like so we have like it's a lot of people who are like also like into audio production, and like we have models, we have like anything. We have people who like create like products. We have someone I know who does like headpieces. It's everything.
Oh my
like graphic design. I think it's definitely has a lot more center. We have musicians too. We definitely see a lot more of the photo video people. I don't know if it's because there's more people doing it, or if that's just because how it started mostly. But I think they're really trying to branch out into the other aspects. But I would say it's definitely mostly a digital space with just so many varieties of people. And I've used that resource a handful of times, like video, audio stuff, or if I need to find gear, I'm like, hey, I have a shoot in the next couple of days and my gear just doesn't work all of a sudden, or I need this. Can I like borrow this from someone or rent it? And usually pretty or cool. Or like I've had audio issues and I'm fresh out of like wedding and something like happened to the audio. And I'm like, hey, I need an audio, someone to like fix this up for me. And people will respond, it's like, yeah, I got you. Here you go. And I'm like, oh, amazing. So
yeah, that's huge.
It's a community that really gives back. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of just answered that, but would you say that like having this whole like community has helped your business, so to speak? And
Absolutely.
what would it be like without this community? Do you think it'd be like much different without them, or?
I think so. I think I said, I really trust in the process of peer review. I think it's so important because I think that's part of why I've been told like when I started video I progressed really fast, but I think it's because I came out and I seeked honest advice. Like very like I was like I don't care if it's even mean. Like if it's bad, just tell me it's bad. It's fine if it is. I'm okay with it. I got it because you're not going to learn any other way, and like you can't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There's too many nice people out there.
Too many nice people. Dang it! What a shame.
Too many. Everyone should just be mean. Come on,
and I think
guys.
most people who give like peer review advice they'll usually say like things that might not be even bad. Well, people will say like, well, this part may just be my opinion, but like and they like people have different styles too, and you gotta like who your audience is, and like I just think that's such a good process, and I would have not been able to progress as fast as I would without that like community to do that. And also just a resource for like, hey, like even like I've gotten gigs there. Some people are like, hey, I got a wedding, I can't shoot. Can someone shoot this for me or whatever? Or something happened, or I'm having someone who's available. So like, there's jobs sometimes posted on there. It's anything. Like it's pretty cool.
Now I'm gonna ask you something. This is kind of a reach for a question, but if you didn't, let's say that hypothetically this community did not exist at all. Because I know a lot of people in different places don't have like a easily accessible community like the Toledo Creatives. What would you hypothetically do in order to like have other people's opinions or to like join with other creatives and get their input? Like how would you go about like reaching out, or how would you find these people, or what would you do in this situation?
I think it would have like I found a few people before that like the creatives were a thing like through like just like Instagram and stuff. Like, but it's never. I wasn't like as close to these people. Like, it was kind of. So there's a few people like I met, and we'd like hang out a couple times. That would kind of be it. But it was never as like I feel like I don't know, not as like a deep of a connection. I feel.
Right.
It's not as, like,
right.
It's I feel like that's kind of how I would have done it. I don't think I would be in the same place for sure. I think it would have taken me longer to get to the skill level where I'm at for sure. Like I said, I've gotten business off like that too, and so like I've gotten less money coming through. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess to kind of change topics a little bit. So we kind of talked about weddings a little bit. Talked about you shooting some like corporate stuff. Outside of like work things, what if you were to like right now just get up, go outside, go shoot something? Like what would you just be shooting for fun, or what kind of would you do outside of work stuff? Or is it the same stuff?
Right now, I'd love to travel a little more. Like, if I had the choice, I'd love to just travel somewhere, like just get some, like, cool landscapes and just kind of really experience nature, get some really cool composed, like, shots. I would love to do more creative stuff. I'm currently in the process of trying to find a different, like, creative outlet. But I think if I could choose anything right now, I'd love to just do more traveling for sure.
I mean, you could drop the podcast that you're gonna be doing.
Yeah, well, that's the next thing right now. I'm working on that. I don't have a name for it yet. That's the big one. That's the biggest decision I'm gonna make this entire thing is what am I gonna name it? Mine just came out because I couldn't think of a name, and I was like, it's all good. And then I was like, wait, there's a name right there. So yeah, I'm currently right now. I'm in the process of setting up a podcast. It's just going to be for the local community, mostly people in the Midwest area, most likely, and it's just going to be interviewing people of all kinds of different, like, kind of creative backgrounds.
Sure.
So, I mean, probably the first few will be more or less, like, photo and video, just because it's what I'm used to while I'm, like, testing the waters out. But I want it to be open to everyone. Like, I would love to, like, talk to screenwriters. I'd love to talk to, like, actors, people who design sets, interior designers, stuff like that. I think would, like, really cool. Like, people who, like, really help out on a different scale and have a different creative field that you don't really get to hear from.
Right. And you kind of create a community online within a podcast, essentially.
Yeah, I really want to. It's the podcast. The way I like to explain it is, it's not about me. It's about the guest. It's about learning them as a person and what they do and why they want to do what they do and how they do it.
Right, and that's kind of what my platform's about too. Is like kind of covering like what other people do. Because I think it's really interesting. I think it varies. I don't think everyone has the same story. I think everyone's story is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to hear how people kind of come up about their thing. And then as far as like photo stuff goes, is there like anything else that you like that you want to share that you've like, you've thought, oh, this has been a cool part of my like career, or this has been something that changed stuff for me, or this has been like, you get what I'm trying to say?
I don't really know. I really liked I like doing photo because I like in the beginning I worked with like a lot of like I would just go out and do portraits of people. I had like just local models, and I really like I said, I'm really social and I like talking to people, and I think that was like a really cool experience to like get me into starting this, because I was like I liked working with people and I like talking to people, and like people feel I think if I have like a skill when it comes to this stuff is I'm very friendly and people tend to be very comfortable around me, and that gives me a good opportunity to like get good photos and videos of people. Like my wedding videos especially, I one of the ones I shot last time, they sent me a little card afterwards. It was very sweet. And it was like, thank you so much. Awesome. Like I can't believe how awkward I didn't look. I appreciate you so much, because people get really nervous about that. And like, they do get photos. Most people, I feel like when you like work with them, it's like, when's the last time you had photos on? I'm like, oh, when I was a senior in high school. I'm like, yeah, that's about right. So it's good that I can provide something that makes people like enjoy the moment. And I think just shooting around, just having fun in the beginning and not worrying about making money in the beginning was a really good thing. And kind of just be able to like flex and just kind of experiment. Whether it was good or not on my end, debatable. But I had fun.
What is your business name?
Daniel Shadler Media.
Cool. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just have you drop your name. I don't know if people out here listening from Toledo that want to check out your stuff. You can let them know at the end where they can check you out. But kind of going off of that too, what have you been editing your work in, and what do you find to be like the most kind of not successful, the most like the best editing software, I guess?
I mean, I use Adobe for everything right now. I use Lightroom Premiere Pro and Photoshop when I do more just extreme stuff. I feel like I only really use Photoshop for mostly creative stuff anymore. But it's mostly Lightroom, and then my goal for this year is to start using DaVinci.
Okay, yeah.
That's gonna be a big move for me, because I want to like it's such a more powerful platform that I feel like I want to use that, and I'm gonna start learning that probably within the month is my goal, to start like really getting into that. I didn't want to learn it last year when I was busy with weddings. I'm not gonna start learning a wedding film, learning a new software. But that's my goal, is to learn that, because it's such a more powerful experience, especially when it comes to like color grading. I'm like, I want to
oh my god, yeah.
That. It's such a process. It's so hard.
So how did you first learn editing software? Because some people learn it. I mean, like myself, I just kind of was just plugging around one day. I had a couple of friends that used it, and I was like, and then I like didn't know how to do something one day, so I texted a friend. I was like, hey, how did you do this? Can you show me? And I think we like hopped on a Zoom call, and he showed me in like 20 minutes or something, and then the rest of it was just me clicking around. And then I might have watched one YouTube video between all that, but I kind of was more self-taught, to be honest, with editing. But what was your experience like learning? How did you first learn it?
YouTube Academy. YouTube all the way. It's really just a free resource. I think being able to research is such an important thing, having all that available. I think once you grasp kind of the basics of a skill, you can learn how to do anything in 30 minutes in this day and age. Like I think you can really pick up any, like if I have a basic photo experience, I can learn to basically, if I have the equipment and the gear and I'm at least somewhat familiar with them, I'm guaranteed I can learn anything almost in like 30 minutes for the most part. I'm not saying I can start doing like graphic design in 30 minutes, or that I can do like special effects in 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
But like, you know what I mean? If I need to have a certain shot, I can learn it within that time frame.
Is there anything else about like your business, or anything else about like photo that you wanted to drop, or anything you wanted to talk about before I head to the advice part?
Not particularly. I feel like I've been pretty open with a lot of stuff. I think it's good. I think we head right to the advice part. I think I'm good with that.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, I guess, do you have what would be your one sentence, or I guess a couple sentences of advice to someone who is at ground zero, like the same day you were at before you even picked up a camera?
Do your research, obviously. Practice and shoot a lot. Like, even if it's like just going out to shoot, that's how I started. I would just go out by myself and just start shooting stuff by myself, like just randomly.
Like what? What did you go shoot?
I would literally just go to like the beach at night, take a photo of the beach at night, just to like learn how to do settings, like to learn manual exposure, like, you know what I mean, stuff like that. I'd really learn your basics and then like kind of get involved in the community in some way or another. Like I said, peer review is so great. If you're pretty honest, people's like, hey, like I'm just starting out, I would love your advice on this. It's such an easy thing. People will most likely give you the time of day, just like look over your stuff. You know what I mean? Most people, I don't think anyone that I know at least personally would.
No, I can't do that.
No, Amy, like I don't think anyone I know would do that. But I think like getting a community, having resources like friends, you can. I mean, there's always like Facebook groups too. I post in Facebook groups all the time, still about random stuff, like all the time, just random.
What are some Facebook groups? Drop some of the names of them. Like what Facebook groups?
Build and Bloom was like a pretty popular like photo one that I like first started in. I'm in a few other wedding ones, like How to Film Weddings podcast. I'm in a law Facebook group. I think it's just called Law Talk, that helps like with the business and like lawyer stuff. It's not lawyer advice, but it's definitely like more business specific advice. They're not giving away
advice strictly from lawyers.
They're not giving away lawyer advice for free, but it is a community where like, hey, I feel like this might be worded differently, or I'm in this unique situation. Like, what was like you're kind of like, how would you walk through this? And people are usually pretty helpful. I think those are great. You can check even like Reddit. I never really use Reddit too much, but even like Reddit always has like good sources for stuff too. People aren't never trying to sell you stuff or anything, so I think it's always really good. Right.
So it kind of comes back to community. I think that's honestly, I think that's really good advice. I think that's something I wish I had known when I first started this too. I just kind of started shooting one thing and then I ran with it, and then it kind of worked out. But I think I could have, got myself a lot more ground had I known that to start out with. Community, guys, trust me, I run away from community sometimes, and it's not good. So go take advantage of community and find that community. But yeah, hey, before I let you go, any socials or anything that you want to drop, feel free to drop it. Where can they find you?
All my socials are Daniel Shadler. If you drop a thing, maybe below, I don't know. It's SHADLER. My website's Daniel Shadler Media. I have that podcast coming up soon. That's gonna be a big thing. Name's still undecided, so I can't plug it specifically yet. But that's gonna be really cool. I'm really excited to get that.
The Name Undecided Podcast.
Name Undecided Podcast.
Got it for you.
That's what we're getting at. As a white man, close to the end of my 20s, it's basically my destiny. So I'm really just trying to embrace it as best as I can. So that's all I got, I guess.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? Thanks for coming on, and appreciate you, dude. And we'll talk to you soon.
Hell yeah! Talk later. Thanks for having me, man.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right, bye.